Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is Afri Abundance. So for today's video, I'm going to be doing a live recording, making something really delicious. It's going to be something that is close to my heritage. I have, as you can see in the background here, my Sierra Leonean flag. And I wanted to introduce a lot of different recipes that are going to be geared towards my heritage on this channel. So today I'm going to be making a Sierra Leonean inspired dish called banga soup. And it is very much a West African dish in general. However, I've got some ingredients here that are specifically from Sierra Leone that I'm going to be using to incorporate into this delicious soup. So I'm going to share how I make the soup, and then I'm going to also be making something called Akara, and that is a well-known West African snack, and it is made with black-eyed peas. So I'm using my traditional taste brand black-eyed peas. I've already got them soaking in water because you have to soak them for a while so that the skin will come off, and then I will share that part of the video as well. So first what I'm gonna do here is prepare my palm nut sauce. So I'll be using the Trofai brand palm sauce. I also have my Green Pastures peanut butter. For my seasonings, I've got some ground white pepper. I've got my shrimp powder. And I purchased all of these from a local African market. I'm also going to be using some water leaves. These are West African. They also are from Sierra Leone and Liberia. So I'm very excited. So the first thing I'm going to do, I have my pot here, and I'm going to start by getting the palm oil sauce boiled. You have to cook it for a little while in order for it to be cooked down enough to get the soup started. So I've got my pot here, and I am going to, hello, salam alaikum to our Sharif. Hello, welcome. So I'm going to get my pot ready here. And I've already got the fish and seafood that I'm going to use for this one. I have chosen to use stockfish. So I've got my stockfish soaking right now, and what I'm going to do is just boil it down because these are dried stockfish. So I'm going to boil them in some water for a few minutes just so that it is all nicely cooked down before I put it into the soup. And then I'm also going to use some snow crab. I've got snow crab legs, and then I'm also going to be using some scallops. Well, thank you. I appreciate your compliment. So I'm going to get the sauce started here. So I'm just going to open up this can, and I'm going to pour it into my pan here. So this is what it looks like. It's kind of hard to see it from here. I'm going to get it into my pan here. And it's like a brownish color. And you want to add water to it as well. From a lot of the recipes that I have seen here from various Sierra Leoneans themselves and other West Africans, mentioned that you want it to be fairly thick, but you don't want it to have too much water to where it's really watery. It's supposed to be a nice hearty kind of soup. So this is what it looks like in the can here, just kind of a brownish, kind of orangish color. And I'm going to add some water to the can just to get the rest of it out of here. I'm going to use my spoon here, just kind of mix it around, and I'm going to add the water in. So I will share what it looks like here in a few minutes. I'm just gonna see how much water I need to add to it here. Okay, so I'm adding my water, and I'll share what this looks like here. Just gonna get my pan right here. So this is what it looks like so far once you get it into the pan, and you're just going to let it cook down for a little while. I'm going to add a little bit more water to it just so that it is an even consistency for the soup. And then I also am going to be blending together I've got some tomatoes, I've got some garlic, I've got some onion, and then I'll be using my red Scotch bonnet peppers. So I'm going to use my blend jet to blend all of those together just to make a little sauce that's also going to go into this soup. So I'm going to go ahead and get this up to boil. I'm going to add a little bit more water to it, and I'm going to allow it to thicken up a little bit, just so that I have enough for the size of my pot. Okay. So just a little bit more water. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and get my fish into the pan so that it can boil down a little bit for the stockfish. So I'm going to allow these to boil for a few minutes. And there's going to be a lot of flavor in the stockfish, so I will definitely use some of that boiled water with it, just to add some flavor. Okay, so I've got my palm sauce going, I've got my stockfish going, and I'm going to go ahead and start blending the sauce together. So what I'm going to do is chop up my tomatoes into quarters, just so they'll fit into my blender here. And I'm just using a blend jet 2 for this one. So I'm going to add my tomatoes in. And I'm going to add a little bit of water to it just so that it has a little bit of a sauce. So a little bit of water. And then I'm going to add the peppers in. And I'm going to blend those first before I add the onion. And I really like these blenders. They're pretty strong, the blades here. I like the second version of the blend jet. It's really nice. There's lots of different colors. So I'm going to blend that together. Then I'm gonna go ahead and add, I've got my garlic and onion. So I'm gonna add my garlic and then my onion. Get those in there. Oops. All right, then I'm gonna go ahead and blend that together as well. And then I'm gonna get back to my sauce here. So it is coming along pretty well. I'm just gonna turn up the heat a little bit just to get it going up to a boil. Okay. So I will share what the stockfish is right now. So the stockfish is, oops, is boiling here. Oops, I think I messed up the rotation of my camera. Okay. Here we go. Alright. Just gotta have it the right way. Alright. So I'm going to continue to get this started here. My fish is boiling. I'm also going to add my peanut butter. So I'm going to add that into the palm sauce. And I also have my frozen water leaves that are unthawing, so I will be adding those in as well. And what I'm gonna do with this sauce here, I'm gonna add my seasonings in. That way this will be like the flavor base for it. So I don't really measure for this one, so I'm gonna add my shrimp powder, some shrimp powder. And I love this shrimp powder. I always find a lot of handcrafted shrimp powders in my local African markets. They're very delicious. I'm gonna add my white pepper. And I also purchase my shrimp in whole form as well. So sometimes I get these traditional taste shrimps. So I may go ahead and add some of those as well because these add a lot of flavor. So you'll see they're just dried shrimps. Very flavorful. You can take the tails off of them if you would like. So I'm going to add a few of those into the soup. And some of them are crayfish as well. And then I'm going to put my lid back on and I'm going to let it boil or let it blend like so. Okay, so now my palm sauce is coming to a boil. I'm going to add my peanut butter. So I'm just going to get some of the oil out here as it has separated. And I'm going to go ahead and get the peanut butter out. And this is what it looks like. It's very thick peanut butter. So I'm going to add about 1.5 cups. I really want to get that peanut flavor in there. Banga soup is particularly peanut flavored, so I want to make sure I get enough. So I'm going to add about 1.5 cups. Okay, so now it's boiling. And I've still got my beans over here because I will be making my akara. So after I'm done blending this sauce, I'm going to blend my beans, and I'm going to be using bell pepper. I've got red and green bell pepper, and then I'm also going to be using some spring onion for the akara, and that is going to be fried. So I'm going to use some vegetable oil to fry that in. So now that my palm sauce is boiling, I've got my peanut butter that I'm going to mash in. And the stockfish is also boiling, so I'm going to set that aside so it can cool. I want to essentially get most of the bones out because stockfish does have a lot of bones, so I just want to make sure I get out as many bones as I can. Even though they are very thin and they do disintegrate when it is boiling. However, I will do my best because my daughter will be consuming this as well. Okay, so my peanut butter is in. Try to get that mixed all around. And then I will show you what that looks like. So this is what it looks like so far. And I just want to get the peanut butter melted down. As you can see here, it's just kind of in a clump, so I'm going to use the sides of the pot to kind of melt it around. Like so. You can see the stockfish over there. So the recipe is coming along really well. I'm definitely excited. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, since my peanut butter is starting to melt, I'm going to add in this tomato, pepper, and onion sauce so I can get all of those flavors in. So I'm going to mix that around. And I do have, instead of using water, which kind of dilutes it, I do have some vegetable broth that I'm going to use. I'm just going to pour it into my blender and just mix it with the leftovers here. That way we're not losing any flavor by adding too much water. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Just rinse it with the vegetable broth and then add that to the soup. Alright, so I've got that going. My stockfish looks like it is almost ready. And it will continue to cook in the soup, so I will take it off of the boil. So what I'm going to do now, since my palm sauce has been cooking for a little while and the peanut butter is relatively incorporated, it is melting down. So I'm going to make sure it's thoroughly stirred. So mix that around. I'm going to go ahead and add my water leaves They were frozen, but I've had them sitting near my stove, so they are unthawed now. So I'm gonna go ahead and add these in. And I'm so excited to try these. I haven't seen very many items that come specifically from Sierra Leone, so I'm definitely excited to really connect with my roots. So I'm gonna add the water leaves in. Add those in. Got those in. And then I also had my scallops and my crab legs unthawing, so I'm gonna add those in here in a few minutes. I've got my greens in. And I'm just gonna give this a taste here just to see if I need to add any salt or any other seasonings. That's really good. Delicious. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit of extra seasoning. I'm going to add a little bit of African bird pepper. Got my African bird pepper here. So I'm going to add a little bit of that. Just to give it a little bit of flavor there. I do have my Scotch bonnet in there already, so I'm not going to make it too spicy. That will just give it some flavor. Add a little bit here. Okay. Then I'm going to add, add some black peppercorns. And I don't really like using table salt, so I don't have a lot of salt to add into it, but I will add a little bit more of my white pepper. I would rather add pepper than salt, just so that it's not too much sodium. Alright, so we're moving right along. I'm going to give this another taste test. So I think I'm going to add some more onion. I love onion, the onion flavor. So I think I will add some more onion. I've got some little miniature onions. And I'm just going to cut this one up and toss it in there in larger chunks just to get some of that onion flavor. So I'm just going to toss those in. Alright, so I've got that going. Now I'm going to go ahead and add my scallops and my crab legs. They've already been defrosting. So these are my scallops, just a regular size. Gonna toss those in. And then I've also got my crab legs. I'm gonna toss those in. I'm not losing my scallops here. Alright, so I'm going to add my scallops. seen various different types of fish being used in banga soup, so you can use whatever you'd like. I've seen pollock fish, lots of different types of fish. So whatever you have readily available will work. And I'm just going to get my stockfish ready. It has boiled here. And I am very excited for this. This is my first time trying banga soup. I've had various different West African soups. I love pepper soup. I know for anyone who has been following my channel for a while, I do share a lot of West African, East African, North African cuisines. I haven't tried anything from South Africa yet, or the southern regions, so I will definitely be looking forward to trying more of those dishes. However, this is going to be another new dish to try. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my bell peppers prepared for the akara so I can fry that. Okay, so this soup is coming along really well. I got my scallops, and I'll show you guys here. Oops. So I've got the crab, and my scallops are in there, and I will add my stockfish to that shortly. Just let all of these flavors marinate together. And I may add some more tomatoes. I do have a fair amount of tomatoes. So I'm just going to blend one more. So I'm going to chop that. And I think I will add a little bit more of my shrimps here because, like I said, these have a lot of flavor and they are very delicious. So I'm going to just go ahead and use the rest of what I have and blend that up. I'm going to check on my stockfish here to see if it is cooled. And I'm just going to remove like some of the fins here, as you can see, just so those parts that are not particularly edible are not going to get in the way. So I'm cutting off a lot of these fin pieces. Right here, like these. Okay, get those off. And this is what the fish looks like once you're able to get it kind of liquefied. You'll see the bones in there, and you can just remove them very easily. They're all connected together so they come right out. Then you'll have these delicious meaty pieces. I'm going to start tossing those into the pot. Again, removing the bones and the fins. just so that it is easier for a little one to eat. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and add these in. And I'm just gonna keep up this process until all of the stockfish is in. And then I'm going to move on to preparing the akara. Okay. So this is coming together very well. Got all the bones removed. And this is going to be very delicious. So when I first started my channel, my idea behind the name AfriAbundance was to really share and embrace the various cultures across the African continent, whether it's in the north, south, east, or the west. I'm definitely a person who is very Pan-Africanist, so I'm very inclusive of all Africans across the continent, regardless of background or beliefs or wherever you come from. I'm very supportive of Africa as a whole, and just embracing the beauty of the continent is my vision behind what this channel is growing to be. I've been a YouTuber for the last 5 years, so I've definitely done a lot of different content and growing and learning what I really wanted to aim for with this channel. So I hope for anyone who is new here, welcome, and I hope you enjoy the content that I'm sharing. Alright, so I'm just going to add in the rest of my pepper sauce here, and I'm going to do a taste test. As always, make sure that there's enough flavor. And that is coming out very well. So it definitely did help to add more of the shrimp powder, and I'm gonna add some more of this ground one as well, because it definitely gives you like a very firm flavor of seafood. So I'm gonna see what my scallops look like, because those are the first ones that are going to be cooked. So this is the scallops. And see if they are cooked. It's very hot. And they are cooked. I know those are going to cook the quickest. Very good. All right. So I'm going to go ahead now and start with my akara, because that is going to take a little while to fry. So I'm going to prep for that as well. And what I've seen from a lot of different recipes, you can enjoy your banga soup with any type of swallow, whether it is curry swallow or rice, jasmine rice, or you have any pounded yam. I didn't get any for this recipe because I really wanted to just enjoy the soup by itself, but since I will have a lot of leftovers, I will probably try some different grains to go with it. I do have a lot of fonio, which is a West African grain, so I'm definitely going to be trying different grains to go with it. I love to eat the plantain or cassava swallow, so that will definitely go with it as well. So now what I'm going to do is get my bell peppers and my spring onion for the akara. So I've got one green and one red. So I'm going to go ahead and get these cleaned off and then get them chopped up. So I'm going to get those chopped. And I'm going to turn this soup down since it is pretty much almost done. My scallops are done, so I am going to turn that down. And the palm sauce is really good. I use palm oil regularly, so it is pretty much the same as palm oil. Has the same flavor. It's all palm. Okay, so I've got my red bell pepper. And I'm not going to use the whole thing. I'm just going to make a small batch for my daughter and I. And then I've got my green bell pepper. I've got my green bell pepper. So I'm going to go ahead and get these chopped. And then I'll go ahead and chop my spring onion. I'm going to save these for another time. I'm gonna try some of the stockfish and see if it has cooked down to a tender bite. stockfish is not done quite yet. So I will allow that to cook down a little bit more. But there is a lot of flavor there now. So that is good. So I'm gonna get my blend jet here. And what you have to do, these have been sitting for about 45 minutes or so. And I'm gonna separate the shells from the bean. And then I'm going to blend these. And then I'm creating like almost like a wet dough to fry the akara. And I've seen these made in various ways. I've seen a Ghanaian style akara, Nigerian style. So I'm relatively making a pretty basic akara for this dinner here. So I'm just going to get all of these separated, and then I'm going to get them into a measuring cup. Alright, so I'm going to discard the skin. And it's very easy once you see the skin has come off. It's just like a clear shell that comes off and separates. So I'm just going to go through here and get all of that out. That way it can blend properly. So I'm just going to be very thorough because these are not, it's not very edible. As you can see, it's like a really thick kind of texture. Not very appetizing. So I'm going to remove all of that. And just get rid of those. And once these beans have soaked for a while, they will be nice and soft, so they will blend very easily. And for this recipe, the one that I followed was a fellow Sierra Leonean sister, and her recipe was very simple, just blending it all together, cracking one egg, just to allow it to bind together. So that's what I'm going to do for this one. Get all of my beans. And it looks like my soup is almost done. So the prep work for this was relatively easy, just getting everything chopped and boiled, deboned. It's fairly simple. And I do have various other soup recipes that I've done on my channel here, so you'll see some pepper soup. I love tilapia pepper soup. Very much Nigerian, Ghanaian inspired. However, there are renditions from all over the continent in various places. Like I had said before, I'm really geared towards the Sierra Leonean style. So I'm going to finish my beans. And this is a little time consuming just to make sure that you get all of them out. And you could probably beat this process by doing it the night before and allowing it to soak longer and straining it. However, I'm doing this kind of quickly, so I didn't have time to soak them prior. Okay, so separate all of these. And then I'm just going to blend in small batches since I have a smaller blender. Blend it down in small batches. So I'm going to start with what I have separated here. And I'm going to get my oil started. So everything is smelling really good with this soup. Make sure that my stockfish is completely cooked. So I'm going to go ahead and take the beans and I'm going to add them into my blender here. And I'm just going to blend it with the red and green bell peppers, and then I'm going to add 1 egg. So there's the beans there. I'm going to add some of the peppers. I'm not going to add all of them since I'm going to do them in batches. And you can also add some seasonings in there just to flavor it. I'm going to add a little bit of Leone Banga chili oil just to make it a little spicy, not too much. If I can get it open. Don't know how to get this open. I might just use my chili powder. I'm not sure how to open this container. I do have some hot pepper powder, a West African blend, so I'm just going to add a little bit of that into the blender with it. And you want to make sure that it's blended very well. I also am going to get my spring onions cut up so I can add those in there too. So I'm going to go ahead and get my onions cut up here. And add those in. Okay, so I'm going to get my egg. Just crack 1 egg into the mixture. And I like to use the brown eggs, so I've just got 1 here. I'm going to add it into the blender, as you can see here. And then I'm going to go ahead and get blending, get all of this done here. And for my blender, I may need to add a little bit of liquid. smaller, but if you have a larger blender, it would be a lot simpler for that. So this is what it looks like here. On getting this blended, and then I'm going to get my oil ready in my pan here to fry the akara. And akara needs to be deep fried, so you want to make sure that you add a decent amount into the pan. So I'm going to keep working on the akara here. And the soup is pretty much ready. I am so excited to enjoy it. And I'm only going to be on for a few more minutes here just to share the akara process, how it looks when you fry it, and then I'm going to sit down and enjoy this beautiful Sierra Leone inspired meal. So I'm going to check on the consistency here and see how it is. So essentially it should be like a kind of a thick texture, and you can use a spoon to spoon out however much you need for however big you want them to be. It's kind of a personal choice. So I'm just going to get a spoon. I'm going to see if my oil is ready. So I'm just going to use one of my bell peppers and see if it starts to fry yet. So it's not ready yet. Alright, so we're moving right along here. Thank you for all of the viewers and subscribers and those who commented with nice, kind words. I appreciate your kindness and your support. Okay, so what I've seen some people do with the blended black-eyed peas is to strain it with a cheesecloth just to get out some of the excess liquid. I don't have any cheesecloth at the moment, however, I'm going to just use some paper towel to try to get out some of the excess liquid. That way it can hold in the oil. So I'm just going to take a paper towel and I'm going to put it on a plate. And see if I can get a little bit of the liquid out. So I got my paper towel here. And it looks like my bell pepper is frying. So that is a good sign. So I've got some of the mixture here. And I'm going to see how much of the liquid I can get out of it. Cheesecloth will definitely be easier. Paper towel is not really foolproof. However, it's not too watery. So what I'm going to do is fish out my bell pepper here, and then I'll share one final view of what the akara will look like when you fry it. So I'm just going to put it on my spoon here. Oops. So I've got it on my spoon here. Just rinse my hands. And my oil is ready, so I will share the frying process. My hands dry. Alright, so I'm excited. This is my first time making akara. Not my first time trying it, but it is my first time making it myself. So I'm definitely excited to see how I will do. So I've got the akara here, and I'm going to place it into the oil, and I'm gonna let that fry. And I'm just gonna do one, and then I'll share it with you guys, and then that's gonna be it for this video. I hope that, or live anyway, I hope that the viewers who came enjoyed this content. Please let me know if there are any other recipes that you are interested in me making or trying as a fellow African yourself. I'm definitely up for challenging recipes to try and trying some new things. So I'm going to taste this one more time. Very hot. But it is very delicious. I give this 2 thumbs up. I really like this one. So my akara is frying. So I'm going to share that final clip of what it's going to look like. Once it's done, it'll be nice and golden brown. And that's what your akara is going to look like. Thank you so much for joining my live today. Stay tuned for more videos, as I stated before.